Commander Reese Harrison stood at the observation deck of the stellar guard vessel Nightingale, watching as Persephone 9's azure surface grew larger in the viewport. The colony's distress beacon had gone silent 3 weeks ago, along with all forms of communication. 48,000 colonists, gone dark without explanation. Commander, preliminary atmospheric readings are stable, Lieutenant Kira Patil announced from her station. No signs of environmental catastrophe or biological contamination. Harrison nodded, his weathered face reflecting in the reinforced glass. 20 years of stellar guard service hadn't prepared him for this level of mystery. Persephone 9 was supposed to be humanity's crowning achievement in deep space colonization, a self-sustaining settlement with state-of-the-art infrastructure and security protocols. "Any response to our hails, communications?" he asked, knowing the answer before Officer Dmitry Volkov shook his head. "Nothing, sir. Not even automated systems are responding." The Nightingale began its descent through the atmosphere, the ship's hull humming as it cut through layers of clouds. The colony's main settlement, New Athena, came into view, a sprawling complex of interconnected domes and buildings spread across the planet's most habitable valley. "Life signs?" Harrison queried, directing his attention to Dr. Naomi Wright. "They're xenobiologist." "That's the strange part, sir," she replied, frowning at her displays. "We're picking up organic activity, but it's diffused, not registering as individual entities." Harrison felt a chill run down his spine. In all his years of service, he'd never encountered anything like this. The colony appeared intact, no signs of structural damage, no evidence of violence or evacuation. It was as if everyone had simply vanished. "Prepare the ground team," he ordered, straightening his uniform. "Full containment protocols. I want boots on the ground in 30 minutes. The landing party consisted of Harrison, Dr. Wright, Security Chief Marcus Rivera, and 2 combat specialists, Jin Park and Olivia Torres. They touched down in the main square of New Athena, their boots echoing against the metal landing pad. The colony's environmental systems were still functioning, maintaining a perfectly breathable atmosphere within the domes. But the silence was deafening. No birds in the artificial parks, no hum of vehicles or machinery, no distant voices of colonists going about their daily lives. "Split up into teams," Harrison commanded. "Rivera, take Park, and check the administrative center. Dr. Wright, you're with Torres and me. We'll investigate the research facilities." As they moved through the empty streets, Harrison couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The buildings stood like silent sentinels, their windows dark despite the morning hour. Personal belongings lay scattered. A child's toy here, a dropped tablet there. As if the population had simply stepped away from their lives mid-moment. The research facility's doors slid open automatically, recognizing their stellar guard credentials. Inside, the laboratories were immaculate, workstations still powered on, displaying complex data streams and research notes. "Commander," Dr. Wright called out, her voice tense. "You need to see this." She stood before a massive screen displaying what appeared to be geological survey data. But something about the readings made Harrison's blood run cold. The patterns were too regular, too structured to be natural formations. "These readings," Wright explained, her fingers flying over the holographic interface. "They're showing massive artificial structures beneath the surface. And they're active." Before Harrison could respond, Rivera's voice crackled over the comm. "Commander, we found something in the admin center." "Sir, you should come see this yourself." The administrative center's main hall was dominated by a single message, projected in glowing blue characters across the wall. It wasn't in any human language, but somehow Harrison could understand it perfectly. "The calling has begun. Persephone awakens." As they stood there, trying to process the implications, a low-frequency vibration began to build beneath their feet. Through the dome's transparent ceiling, they watched as the azure sky of Persephone 9 began to pulse with an otherworldly light. "Sir," Torres whispered, her weapon trained on shadows that seemed to move of their own accord. I don't think we're alone anymore. Harrison keyed his emergency beacon, signaling the Nightingale. All teams, fall back to the landing zone. Now. But as they turned to leave, every screen, every display in the building flickered to life simultaneously. The same message appeared on each one, but this time in English. Those who hear Persephone's call must answer. The cycle continues. The vibrations intensified, and Harrison realized with growing horror that they weren't just coming from below. They were coming from within the colony itself, within its very walls, its systems, and perhaps even within them. They had come to solve the mystery of a silent colony. Instead, they had awakened something that had been waiting, perhaps for centuries, beneath Persephone 9's azure surface. And now, they too would have to answer its call. The retreat to the Nightingale became impossible within minutes. The colony's automated systems locked down, sealing every exit with impenetrable energy barriers. Harrison and his team found themselves trapped in the administrative center, watching as the strange blue light began seeping through the walls like liquid mercury. "Dr. Wright, what are we dealing with?" Harrison demanded, keeping his voice steady despite the mounting tension. The xenobiologist's hands moved frantically across her scanner. "These energy signatures, they're unlike anything in our database. It's as if the entire colony has become one massive conducting medium for something." Security Chief Rivera positioned himself at the main entrance, weapon ready. "The colonists, could they have been converted into energy? Is that why we're getting diffused life readings?" Before Wright could answer, Officer Park's voice cut through their comms, distorted but urgent. "Commander, we found a way into the sublevel archives. There's someone down here." "Park, do not engage," Harrison ordered. "Hold position until—" A piercing sound cut through the air, forcing everyone to their knees. Through watering eyes, Harrison watched as the blue light coalesced into a humanoid figure, tall, translucent, and unmistakably artificial. "I am Interface Protocol 0, it announced in a voice that seemed to bypass their ears and speak directly into their minds. "I serve the architects." Dr. Wright recovered first, her scientific curiosity overtaking her fear. "The architects. Those who seeded this galaxy with the potential for life," the figure explained. "This facility serves as one of their observation posts. Your colonists have been preserved for study." Harrison stepped forward, his hand still on his weapon. "Preserved? What exactly does that mean?" "Their consciousness patterns have been uploaded into our data matrix. Their physical forms have been deconstructed for analysis. This is standard protocol when developing species make contact with our installations." Torres raised her rifle. "You murdered them." "No." The figure's form rippled. "We have elevated them, as we will elevate you. The Persephone Protocol exists to guide emerging civilizations toward ascension." Through their neural implants, Harrison and his team began receiving massive data streams, images and information about the architects, their mission, and the true purpose of Persephone 9. The colony had been built directly over an ancient alien installation, its presence influencing the colonists subtly over months until they were ready for processing. "You don't have the right," Harrison growled, fighting against the invasive data flow. "Those were human beings, not lab specimens. Your perspective is limited by your current form," Interface 0 responded. "The architects have guided countless species through this transition. Some resist, all eventually understand." Suddenly, Park's voice crackled through again. "Commander, you need to see this. The archives, they're full of records, logs from other colonies, other species. This has happened before, thousands of times." Dr. Wright's scanner began picking up new readings. "The energy patterns are shifting. Whatever they're planning, it's starting." Interface 0's form expanded, filling the room with patterns of light that seemed to fold in on themselves impossibly. "The calling cannot be refused. Preparation for ascension begins now." Harrison made a split-second decision. Rivera, overload your weapon's power core. Wright, reconfigure your scanner to emit a feedback pulse on my mark. Torres, Park, get to the colony's main power distribution center. We're going to show these architects what happens when they underestimate human stubbornness. The interface's voice took on a note of something almost like concern. Resistance is not optimal. The process cannot be reversed. Watch us, Harrison replied, and gave the signal. Multiple explosions rocked the facility simultaneously. The feedback pulse from Wright's scanner collided with the energy patterns, creating a cascade of disruptions. Emergency systems blared as the colony's power grid went into meltdown. But through the chaos, through the collapsing energy fields and screaming alarms, Harrison heard something else. Thousands of voices, crying out in unison. The colonists, their consciousness patterns fighting against their digital prison. The battle for Persephone 9 had begun, and humanity wasn't going quietly into ascension. Interface Zero's form flickered violently. You do not comprehend the consequences of your actions. The architect's plan spans millennia, galaxies. You cannot. Harrison cut through the entity's warning. We just did. Now let's talk about giving our people back their bodies. The colony's systems were in chaos. Harrison's gambit had worked, partially. The architect's energy matrix was destabilized. But now they faced a new problem. How to safely extract and restore thousands of digitized human consciousness patterns before the entire facility collapsed. Time estimate. Harrison barked at Dr. Wright, who was frantically working at a terminal she'd managed to isolate from the main network. 20 minutes, maybe less, she responded without looking up. The containment fields are failing. Once they go, we lose everything, including the colonists. Interface Zero's form had become fragmented, flickering between multiple locations like a broken hologram. Your interference has created an impossible scenario. The consciousness patterns cannot be safely reintegrated without the architect's protocols. Rivera emerged from the lower levels, his uniform covered in coolant from the damaged systems. Commander, we found them. The original bodies. They're in stasis chambers beneath the research wing. Thousands of them. This revelation changed everything. Harrison turned to the fractured interface. You didn't deconstruct them. You preserved them. The physical vessels are maintained as fail-safes. Interface Zero confirmed. But reintegration without proper ascension protocols will result in significant psychological trauma. Many will not survive the process. Dr. Wright spoke up, her voice tense. He's right, Commander. The colonists' consciousness patterns have been fundamentally altered. Forcing them back into their original forms, we'd be condemning many of them to madness or worse. The facility shuddered again as another power surge ripped through its systems. Through their neural implants, they could hear the digitized voices of the colonists growing more distinct, more desperate. Show me, Harrison demanded of the interface. Show me what ascension really means. The fractured entity coalesced one final time, and suddenly Harrison's mind was flooded with visions, beings of pure energy and thought, exploring the cosmos unfettered by physical limitations. The architect's gift to evolving species, transcendence beyond mere biological existence. But he also saw the cost, the loss of human connection, of touch, of all the beautiful imperfections that made them who they were. The architect's version of ascension meant the death of humanity as they knew it. There has to be another way, Harrison insisted, a compromise. Dr. Wright's eyes suddenly widened. The quantum buffer. If we can modify the stasis chambers to act as quantum buffers, we might be able to reintegrate the consciousness patterns gradually, allowing for adaptation. Impossible, Interface Zero stated. Such a process would require human ingenuity. Harrison cut in. Something your architects clearly didn't factor into their calculations. Torres, Park, start bringing the stasis chambers online. Right, you and Rivera work on modifying the integration protocols. I'll keep our friend here talking. What followed was a desperate race against time. As the facility's systems continued to deteriorate, Harrison's team worked to create something unprecedented, a merger of human technology and the architect's ascension protocols. The colonists' voices grew stronger in their minds, no longer just crying out in fear, but offering assistance, sharing their experiences within the digital matrix to help refine the integration process. You risk everything, Interface Zero warned as the new integration protocols came online. The architect's plan ensures survival. No, Harrison countered, watching as the first stasis chambers began to power up with their modified protocols. It ensures existence. We're choosing to live, really live, with all the messiness and uncertainty that comes with being human. The process began. One by one, consciousness patterns were filtered through the quantum buffers, slowly reintegrating with their original bodies. Some emerged changed, carrying fragments of their digital existence with them. New abilities, expanded consciousness, bridges between human limitation and architectural transcendence. But they emerged human, beautifully, imperfectly human. As the facility entered its final stages of collapse, Interface Zero made one last appearance. The architects will note this anomaly. Other solutions will be attempted. Harrison watched as more colonists awakened, their eyes holding both wisdom and wonder. Tell your architects this. Humanity chooses its own path to the stars. We'll transcend on our own terms. The entity flickered out of existence as the last of its energy matrix collapsed. But Harrison knew this wasn't the end. Somewhere out there, the architects were watching, learning, perhaps beginning to understand that true ascension couldn't be forced. It had to be chosen. The next 48 hours on Persephone 9 became a battle against time. While the reintegration process continued, the colony's infrastructure began failing catastrophically. Harrison and his team worked tirelessly, moving recovered colonists to secure zones as entire sections of the facility shut down. Dr. Wright monitored the quantum buffers, her face lined with exhaustion. The reintegration is having unexpected effects. Some of the colonists are displaying remarkable abilities: enhanced cognition, technological interfacing, even limited energy manipulation. Side effects of their time in the Matrix? Harrison asked, helping a group of newly awakened colonists orient themselves. More like evolutionary adaptations, she replied. The architect's protocols may have failed, but they've sparked something else, a natural human progression. Security, Chief Rivera burst into the command center. Commander, we have incoming. Multiple signals entering orbit. Energy signatures match architect technology. Harrison looked at the monitors showing the approaching vessels. They're not giving up their experiment that easily. Among the awakened colonists, a leader had emerged. Director Isabella Ramirez, whose consciousness had retained the most connection to the architect's systems. She stepped forward, her eyes glowing faintly with residual energy. We can fight them, she declared. What they gave us, we can use against them. The colony's remaining systems began responding to her mental commands, reconfiguring themselves into defensive positions. Other enhanced colonists joined her, their combined abilities turning Persephone 9 into something its builders never intended. A fortress of hybrid human architect technology. Blue Horizon. The architect's vessels descended through Persephone 9's atmosphere like falling stars, their energy weapons charging. But they found themselves facing an unprecedented resistance. The enhanced colonists, led by Ramirez, had effectively turned the entire colony into a weapon. They never understood, Ramirez said, as she coordinated the defense. Humanity doesn't just adapt, we transform. Harrison watched in awe as colonists wielded fragments of architect technology with natural intuition, their hybrid abilities growing stronger by the hour. The attacking vessels found their energy weapons reflected, their systems hacked by minds that had learned to speak their language. Dr. Wright's scanners revealed the truth. The colonists aren't just using the technology. They're improving it, making it their own. The battle for Persephone 9 became a testament to human potential. Where the architects had sought to enforce transcendence, humanity had found its own path, a merger of biological and technological evolution that respected the essence of what made them human. In the end, the architect vessels retreated. Through the colony's restored communications array, a final message was received. Protocol amended. Observation continues. Evolution proceeds on indigenous terms. Standing at the same observation deck where the mystery had begun, Harrison watched the colony's new inhabitants rebuild. The enhanced colonists worked alongside their unchanged brethren, their abilities used not to transcend humanity, but to enhance it. "What do we tell Stellar Guard Command?" Rivera asked, standing beside him. Harrison smiled. "The truth. That we've witnessed the next step in human evolution, not forced by alien protocols, but chosen by human will." Below them, Persephone 9 pulsed with a new kind of life. The blue horizon that had once signaled alien influence now represented something else. Humanity's first steps into a future of their own making. Dr. Wright joined them, her research tablets filled with data about the colonists' transformations. "The architects will be back, you know. Not as conquerors, but as observers. We've shown them something new." "Let them watch," Harrison replied. "Let them learn what humanity really is." The colony's new defense systems hummed with power, not architect technology, not purely human innovation, but something new. Something that proved that true transcendence couldn't be forced or given. It had to be earned, chosen, and shaped by the very essence of what made them human. As the first reports of similar architect installations on other colony worlds began coming in, Harrison knew that Persephone 9 was just the beginning. Humanity had found its path to the stars, not through alien ascension, but through the most human of traits, the stubborn determination to forge their own destiny. End.